Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy to see you here today. In this video, I will tell you about my trip to New York City. It was an amazing experience, and I can't wait to share it with you. This video is perfect for learning English too. You will hear a full story in simple English. Listening to stories can help you improve your English skills. You will learn new words and understand how sentences are used. It will also make your listening skills better. When you listen carefully, you can practice English naturally. You will enjoy the story and learn at the same time. Isn't that great? You can also repeat parts of the video to hear the words again. This way, you will remember them better. My goal is to help you improve your English while you enjoy interesting stories. I know you will love this one. Before we start, I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button below. It helps you stay connected and not miss any videos. Also, don't forget to press the bell icon. It will send you a notification every time I post something new. That way, you will always learn something fun and useful. Are you ready to hear about my trip? Let's start the story now. Make sure to listen carefully and enjoy every part of it. Thank you for being here and learning with me. Let's go on this journey together. Before we dive into the story of my trip to New York City, let me tell you about how I plan everything. Planning a journey is very important. It helps you stay organized and enjoy the trip without stress. First, I decided when I wanted to go. Picking the right time is very important. I wanted to visit New York when the weather was nice, so I chose spring. The weather is neither too hot nor too cold during that time. Next, I checked flights online. I compared prices on different websites to find the best deal. It's always a good idea to book your tickets early. It saves you money and gives you more choices. After booking my flight, I looked for a place to stay. There are many options in New York, like hotels and apartments. I chose a place close to the city center, so I could easily visit the famous spots. I also made a list of things I wanted to see. New York is a big city with so many amazing places. I wanted to visit Times Square, Central Park, and the Statue of Liberty. Making a list helped me plan my time better. I also checked how to travel around the city. In New York, you can use buses, trains, or taxis. I learned about the subway system because it is fast and affordable. I packed my bag carefully. I made sure to take all the important things like clothes, a camera, and my travel documents. Planning a journey takes time, but it makes the trip much easier and more enjoyable. Now that everything was ready, I couldn't wait to start my adventure in New York City. When I finally arrived in New York City, I felt so excited. The moment I stepped out of the airport, I could feel the energy of the city. They call it the Big Apple, and now I understood why. Everything was so lively and full of life. The tall buildings, the yellow taxis, and the busy streets made it look just like the movies I had seen. It felt like I was in a dream. After picking up my luggage, I took a taxi to the place where I was staying. The ride to the city was amazing. I kept looking out of the window, trying to take in everything I saw. The skyline of New York was beautiful, especially with the tall skyscrapers shining under the sun. I saw people walking fast on the streets, and I realized the city never stops. When I reached my hotel, I quickly checked in and went to my room. I was tired from the flight, but I couldn't rest. I was too excited to start exploring. After freshening up, I stepped out to take my first walk in New York. The streets were busy, but I loved the energy. Everywhere I looked, there was something new to see. Street vendors were selling food. People were talking in different languages, and I could hear music playing somewhere in the distance. The air felt different, filled with possibilities. I knew my adventure had just begun. It was my first time in such a big and famous city, and I wanted to make the most of it. I was ready to explore, learn, and enjoy everything that New York had to offer. This was going to be an unforgettable journey. My first day in New York City was all about exploring its famous landmarks. I started early in the morning, full of excitement and energy. The first place I visited was Times Square. It was everything I had imagined and more. The bright lights, giant screens, and colorful billboards were shining everywhere. There were so many people walking, taking pictures, and enjoying the lively atmosphere. It felt like the heart of the city. I stood there for a while, just soaking in the energy. After Times Square, I walked to Central Park. It was a beautiful change from the busy streets. The park was so big and green, with tall trees, little paths, and peaceful lakes. I saw people jogging, walking their dogs, and even playing music. I sat on a bench for a while, enjoying the fresh air and the sound of birds. It was hard to believe such a quiet and calm place was in the middle of such a busy city. I went to the Statue of Liberty. I took a ferry to reach the statue, and the ride itself was amazing. I could see the city skyline from the water, and it looked stunning. When I got close to the statue, I felt a sense of awe. It was huge and so meaningful. The Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom, and standing near it felt inspiring. My last stop for the day was the Empire State Building. I went up to the observation deck, and the view from there was breathtaking. I could see the entire city, with its tall buildings, busy streets, and sparkling lights. It was a moment I will never forget. Standing there, I felt so small yet so connected to the world. Exploring these iconic landmarks was an incredible experience. Each place had its own beauty and story to tell. It made me realize how special New York City really is. I couldn't wait to see more in the days to come. When I arrived at Times Square, it felt like stepping into a completely different world. The lights were so bright that it almost felt like daytime, even though it was evening. Huge digital billboards were everywhere, showing colorful advertisements and videos. The screens were so big and lively that they caught my attention instantly. It was hard to look away because everything seemed so exciting. The streets were filled with people from all over the world. I heard so many different languages as people walked past me. Some were tourists like me, taking pictures and looking amazed. Others seemed like locals, moving quickly as if they knew every corner of the area. Street performers were everywhere, dancing, singing, and entertaining the crowd. One man was playing guitar, and a group of people gathered around to watch him. Yellow taxis kept driving by, honking their horns as they tried to get through the busy traffic. The noise of the city was loud, but it felt like a part of the experience. People were laughing, talking, and enjoying themselves. The smell of food from nearby food trucks made me hungry. I saw vendors selling hot dogs, pretzels, and roasted nuts, and I decided to grab a quick snack. As I walked around, I noticed all the big stores and theaters. Times Square is famous for its Broadway shows, and I could see posters for different musicals and plays. It made me dream about watching one someday. After the bright lights and noise of Times Square, visiting Central Park felt like stepping into a peaceful paradise. The park was huge, with so much to explore. As I entered, I was greeted by tall green trees swaying gently in the breeze. The sound of birds singing filled the air, and it felt so calming after the busy city streets. The park was full of life, yet it had a quiet and relaxing energy. I decided to walk along one of the many paths. There were people everywhere, but everyone seemed to enjoy the peaceful vibe. Some were jogging or riding bicycles, while others were sitting on benches, reading books, or simply watching the world go by. Families were having picnics on the grass, and children were playing happily. It was amazing to see so many people finding joy in the same place. One of my favorite spots was the lake. The water was calm, and I saw small boats gently floating across the surface. Couples and families were rowing the boats, smiling and laughing. I stood by the edge for a while, just watching the reflection of the trees and sky in the water. Nearby, I saw a little bridge, which looked like something out of a storybook. It was a perfect spot for pictures, and many people were taking selfies there. As I walked further, I discovered a part of the park with large rocks where people were sitting and enjoying the view. I climbed up one of the rocks and looked around. The view was incredible. On one side, I could see the peaceful park, and on the other side, I could see the tall buildings of New York City. It was such a unique mix of nature and the city. Before leaving, I stopped at a small stand to buy an ice cream cone. Sitting on a bench with my ice cream, I felt so happy and relaxed. Central Park was not just a park. It was a place where the city slowed down, where people could breathe, laugh, and connect. It became one of my favorite parts of New York City, and I knew I would come back again someday. Visiting the Empire State Building was one of the most exciting moments of my trip. As I entered the building, I could feel the history and greatness of this iconic structure. The lines were long, but I didn't mind. I was eager to reach the top and see the view. After taking the elevator up, I stepped out onto the observation deck. The view from there was absolutely breathtaking. From the top, I could see all of New York City stretched out before me. The buildings looked so small from up high, but the city seemed endless. I could see the busy streets below, where cars and people moved like tiny ants. The skyline was filled with tall skyscrapers, all shining under the sun. The city was beautiful in every direction. Looking to the north, I saw Central Park, its green trees standing out like a calm oasis in the middle of the city. To the south, the Statue of Liberty could be seen in the distance, standing tall and proud by the water. The river looked peaceful, and I could see boats moving slowly along the water. On the east side, there were more buildings and bridges stretching across the water, and to the west, the sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the city. What really took my breath away was the view of the sunset. The sky turned into shades of pink, orange, and purple. It was a moment that felt magical, as if time had slowed down. Watching the city transform as the sun set behind the buildings made me feel both peaceful and excited. It was amazing to see how beautiful New York City was from such a high point. As I stood there, I thought about how small I was compared to the vast city below. But at the same time, I felt like a part of something big and special. The Empire State Building gave me a new perspective on the city, and I knew this was a moment I would never forget. One of the highlights of my trip to New York City was experiencing a Broadway show. I had always heard so much about Broadway, and I couldn't wait to see it for myself. Broadway is famous for its incredible performances, talented actors, and amazing musicals. I knew I had to see at least one show while I was there. I bought my ticket in advance, and the excitement started to build as the day approached. On the night of the show, I made my way to the theater. The area around the theaters was full of energy. People were dressed up, chatting excitedly about the performance they were going to see. The theater itself was beautiful, with golden lights and large, fancy doors. Inside, it was even more stunning. The rich colors and comfortable seats made the whole place feel special. When the show started, I was amazed. The stage came to life with bright lights, vibrant costumes, and incredible music. The actors were so talented that I felt like I was part of the story. The singing, dancing, and acting were all perfect. The way they used lights and set designs to create different scenes was mind-blowing. I had never seen anything like it before. The musical I saw was full of emotion. At times I laughed, and at other moments I was on the edge of my seat, feeling the tension in the story. The whole experience was magical. I felt so lucky to be there, watching such a high-quality performance in the heart of New York City. After the show ended, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The actors took their final bow, and the audience gave them a huge standing ovation. It was clear that everyone was impressed by the performance. I left the theater with a big smile, feeling so happy and inspired. Broadway really is as amazing as people say it is, and it's an experience I will never forget. I knew I would come back to see more shows someday. One of the most exciting parts of my trip to New York City was the food. The city is home to so many different types of cuisines, and I couldn't wait to try them all. Every street seemed to have a food truck or a restaurant offering something new and delicious. I started my food adventure in Chinatown. The streets were full of smells from different restaurants, and I followed my nose to a small noodle shop. I tried some traditional dumplings and noodles, and they were so tasty. The flavors were rich, and the food felt warm and comforting. Later, I made my way to Little Italy. The Italian restaurants here were everywhere, and the air smelled like fresh pizza and pasta. I sat down at a small cafe and ordered a classic margherita pizza. The pizza was so good. The crust was thin and crispy, and the mozzarella cheese melted perfectly. Eating in Little Italy felt like being in Italy itself, with all the friendly people and delicious food around me. The next day, I wanted to try something different. I went to a food market in the city and found a stand selling falafel and hummus. I had never tasted anything like it before. The falafel was crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, while the hummus was smooth and full of flavor. I also tried a Middle Eastern dessert called baklava. It was sweet and flaky, and I couldn't stop eating it. New York City also has amazing street food. I tried a classic New York hot dog from a street vendor. It was quick, simple, but so satisfying. I added some mustard and ketchup, and it was the perfect snack as I walked around the city. One of the best parts about the food in New York is how you can find something from almost every culture in the world. From sushi to tacos, bagels to curry, the city offers endless choices for food lovers. I felt like I could taste the world all in one place. Each meal was a new adventure, and I loved every bite. By the end of my trip, I had tried so many different dishes. Each meal told a story of the culture behind it, and I left New York with not only amazing memories, but also a full belly. New York City's food scene is a true reflection of its diversity, and I can't wait to go back and try even more delicious foods. One of the best parts of my trip to New York City was the food. The city has many different types of food from all over the world. I couldn't wait to try as much as I could. My first stop was Chinatown. The streets were full of delicious smells, and I found a small shop that sold dumplings and noodles. The food was so good. The noodles were soft, and the dumplings were tasty. Next, I went to Little Italy. This area was full of Italian restaurants. I sat down at a small cafe and ordered pizza. The pizza was amazing. The crust was crispy, and the cheese was so fresh. It tasted like Italy, and I loved every bite. The next day, I decided to try something new. I went to a food market and found a stand that sold falafel. The falafel was crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. It tasted great with hummus, which was creamy and full of flavor. I also tried a dessert called baklava. It was sweet and crunchy, and I really enjoyed it. I also tried a classic New York hot dog. There were food vendors on the streets selling hot dogs, and it was a quick snack. It was simple but so tasty with mustard and ketchup on top. It was the perfect food while I walked around. New York City has food from all over the world. From sushi to tacos, bagels to curry, there are endless choices. Each meal was a new adventure, and I loved it. By the end of my trip, I had tried so many different dishes, and I was full and happy. New York's food shows how many different cultures are in the city, and I can't wait to go back and try even more food. One of my favorite experiences in New York City was walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. It was a bright and sunny day, perfect for a walk. The bridge is very big and famous, and I had always seen it in pictures and movies. Now I was finally there, ready to see it for myself. As I started walking, I looked around and saw the amazing views. On one side, I could see the tall buildings of Manhattan. They looked so shiny in the sunlight. On the other side, I could see the Brooklyn skyline. The view of the water below and the city around me was so beautiful. The fresh air and gentle breeze made the walk even better. The bridge was full of people. Some were walking like me, taking pictures and enjoying the view. Others were riding bicycles. I could hear laughter and happy conversations everywhere. Everyone seemed to love being there. The wooden path felt strong under my feet, and the cables of the bridge looked so unique. It felt like I was walking on a piece of history. I stopped in the middle of the bridge to take some pictures. The view from there was the best. I could see the Statue of Liberty far away, and the boats moving on the water. The skyline looked even more beautiful from this spot. I stood there for a while, just enjoying the moment. When I reached the Brooklyn side, I felt so happy. Walking across the bridge was a peaceful and fun experience. It made me feel connected to the city in a special way. The Brooklyn Bridge is not just a way to get from one place to another. It's a place full of beauty and history. I will always remember that walk. My trip to New York City was full of memorable moments that I will never forget. Every day was like a new adventure, and the city had something special to offer at every corner. One of the most unforgettable moments was seeing the bright lights of Times Square at night. The huge screens, colorful billboards, and the energy of the crowd made it feel like the heart of the world. Standing there surrounded by so much life was truly amazing. Another special moment was walking through Central Park. The quiet paths, the peaceful lake, and the sound of birds made it feel like I was far away from the busy city. Sitting on a bench and watching people enjoy their day was so relaxing. It reminded me how important it is to take a break and enjoy the simple things. Visiting the Empire State Building was another highlight. The view from the top was breathtaking. Seeing the city from above, with its tall buildings and busy streets, made me feel so small but also inspired. Watching the sunset from there was magical, and it's a moment I'll always treasure. I also loved walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. The view of the city and the water was so beautiful. It felt like I was part of something bigger, surrounded by history and beauty. Taking pictures on the bridge and feeling the cool breeze was such a joyful experience. Of course, the food in New York was also unforgettable. Tasting different cuisines from around the world was like going on a global food adventure. From pizza in Little Italy to dumplings in Chinatown, every meal was delicious and unique. Every moment in New York City felt special. But what made it truly memorable was the feeling of being in a place where anything seemed possible. The city's energy, diversity, and beauty left a deep impression on me. These moments will stay in my heart forever, and I can't wait to go back and create even more memories. As my journey in New York City came to an end, I look back at all the amazing experiences I had. From the bright lights of Times Square to the peaceful paths of Central Park, every moment was unforgettable. Walking across the Brooklyn Bridge, tasting food from around the world, and standing at the top of the Empire State Building showed me just how magical this city is. New York City is truly a place where dreams feel alive, and every corner has a story to tell. I hope you enjoyed this journey with me and felt like you were right there in the city, exploring its wonders. Watching this video can help you improve your English listening skills and learn new words, all while experiencing the excitement of New York City. Remember, the more you listen and practice, the better your English will become. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our channel for more exciting stories, adventures, and lessons to help you improve your English. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.